I'm Kathryn. Today I want to talk about then and now when it comes to what we know about Lori Vallow Daybell, Chad Daybell, Melanie Pulowski, and the rest. There's some really interesting tidbits that I was able to go through, pick apart, and compare to what was said before and what we know now. So stick with me and welcome to Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn, and while you're here, if you've been to my channel before and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe now. Hit that bell for notifications because we follow the Lori Vallow Daybell case very deeply and we won't stop, ever. So welcome to Left Undone. I told you that I wanted to make a then and now video for you all to see. Since there's only a few recordings of Lori and Chad after the children's murders, I went back to the beginning when we first found out that JJ and Tylee were missing. The Woodcocks had called for a welfare check on JJ, which was handled by the Rexburg Police Department on November 26, 2019. Remember, at the time of the recording, we now know Charles, Tylee, JJ, and Tammy were already dead, and Brandon B. had been shot at. We could hear Lori's interacting with law enforcement. We hear lie after lie. Lori goes too far with them. She tells law enforcement Tylee goes to BYU, Idaho, and lives with Lori and JJ in the apartment. With this information, with this one statement, all law enforcement had to do was type in a couple of words and press enter or make one single solitary phone call to the Office of Admissions at BYU, Idaho, and the lie would be exposed. Maybe this is why Lori and Chad chose to flee Rexburg before law enforcement returned the very next day with a search warrant. The first thing Lori says is, "Wow, this is a big mess. I just talked to the guy on the phone." Yes, this is a very big mess, and I believe
as myself and Lieutenant Ball approach the apartment number 175 the first time on the 26th. Okay.
Her car's out there too. In the back. It's blue. Blue Subaru.
You have to remember, the children have been dead for over 2 months. Tammy Daybell has been dead since October 19th. Lori and Chad have been married since November 5th, exactly 21 days. Lori explains JJ is with a friend in Arizona and says she has already conveyed the information to the man on the other end of the phone line. Nervously, Lori asks, "What's all of this?"
Hi. You Lori? Lori, I'm Lieutenant Ball of the Police Department. How are you? You got a minute? You alone, or that help? Or?
My brother's here.
Okay. This is Detective Stubbs.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
So, we're here.
Yeah, this is a big mess. I just talked to the guy on the phone.
And what do you...
You would think that Lori, Chad, and Alex would have spoken to each other about their alibis. Do you think these three truly believed the world was going to end on July 22nd? Do you think Lori might have thought they had truly gotten away with all these crimes? She told JJ's school in Arizona she had gotten a job in California, and Colby didn't even know where Lori had moved with Tylee and JJ. Do you think Lori believed she had fooled everyone? The officer begins by saying, "We're a little concerned." Lori interrupts and she says, "Why?"
He asked you.
He was just saying that he wanted to do a well check on JJ.
So JJ would be where?
He's in Arizona.
Who's he with in Arizona?
He's with one of my friends in Arizona.
She's with a friend in Arizona and says she has already conveyed the information to the man on the other end of the phone line. Nervously, Lori asks, "What's all of this?"
Oh.
Hi.
Oh,
Hey.
you got a notepad?
No? Want me to get one?
No. Come here. You mind if he comes in?
No, come on.
So,
Sorry.
who's the friend he's with?
My friend Melanie. Her son
Melanie.
has autism. Her name is Melanie Gibb. I gave him all the information on the phone.
Okay, so he can call him.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Discord.
Yeah. What is all this?
We're a little
What is
concerned
it? Why?
because, well, the officers who were here earlier
Yeah.
were checking, and they got a bad vibe that like something was going on here because
You would think that Lori, Chad, and Alex would have spoken to each other about their alibis. Do you think these three truly believed the world was going to end on July 22nd? Do you think Lori might have thought they had truly gotten away with all these crimes? She told JJ's school in Arizona she had gotten a job in California, and Colby didn't even know where Lori had moved with Tylee and JJ. Do you think Lori believed she had fooled everyone? The officer begins by saying, "We're a little concerned." Lori interrupts and she says, "Why?" Officer continues, "Because the officers that were here earlier and were checking, they got a bad vibe, like something was going on here." Once again, Lori cuts him off in mid-sentence. "It's because a lot of stuff has been going on. If you want to know, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff, so." The officer continues by saying things were kind of weird. Lori says, "It's very weird. I have had to move around a lot. One of my brothers is trying to kill me. Not the brother that lives here, obviously. He's kind of my protector. My other brother was in with my husband who was trying to kill me for my $2 million life insurance policy." The officer says, "Now what?"
Nobody knew anything about a child. They weren't talking.
It's because a
What's
lot of
going
stuff
on?
that was going on. If you want to know, it's a lot of stuff. So
Well, that's why we're concerned, because it just was kind of weird.
it is very weird. I've had to move around a lot. One of my brothers is trying to kill me. Not the brother that lives here, obviously. He's kind of my protector. My other brother was in with my husband who was trying to kill me for my $2 million life insurance policy.
Can you imagine what law enforcement must have thought? You have to keep in mind, law enforcement had already spoken to Chad and Alex. Law enforcement had asked each of them for Lori's cell number. Both said they didn't have Lori's number. Law enforcement also knew that Chad's wife had died, and they also knew that Chad had married Lori some 17 days after Tammy's death. Lori explains JJ's heritage and adoption. She goes out of her way to make a clear point to demean JJ's biological father and mother by labeling them both as drug addicts.
Now,
So a lot of stuff has gone on in this last year. It's been a horrible year for us. I've had to move around. And so I was going to move back to Arizona, put my son back into school there because I tried to put him in school here, public school at Kennedy.
okay.
He went for 2 months. We tried it, but he had such a hard time. Now, the person who called is my sister-in-law, but she's his natural grandmother. He's adopted by us. Okay, so her son, who is a drug addict,
Okay.
had a baby with a girl who's a drug addict, and they took him from, CPS took him,
Okay.
gave him to the grandmother. She came and got him, and then she wanted us to adopt him, which we did. And we loved
By
him and
us?
taking
Who are we
care.
talking
My
about?
husband and I, who died earlier this year.
Okay.
He passed away. Since he
Sorry to
passed
hear that.
away, she's been trying to fight me for him and being really horrible to me and that kind of stuff.
She completely demonizes Kay Woodcock. Lori actually says, "So I look like a suspect, but I'm not." She corrects herself. "I'm a good person. I've raised all my kids. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do in life, but everyone is causing me trouble right now."
He has autism and ADHD. He doesn't really talk to people. Like he's very special needs. So I had him in a special needs school there. She was trying to. So what happened was, my husband, who we were married for 15 years and had raised all these 5 kids together, switched his life insurance policy to her, right?
To
his sister,
okay.
who got $1 million when he died, and we got nothing. For me to raise JJ, and all the kids got nothing, and everybody got nothing. She got $1 million.
Then she says Tylee is going to BYUI. And when asked if Tylee lives with her, she says she does. She explains she is moving back to Arizona because JJ needed to be back in a special needs classroom, school. She explains she's going to live with her friend Melanie, and she tells them not to tell anybody. Of course, these officers know she's married to Chad. They know something is definitely going on. The officer continues by saying, our only concern in this whole thing is for the child. Lori says, I got it.
So I knew she was going to try to sue me for him or...
For JJ?
Yeah, because she now has this $1 million, so she can hire people to help him, and I have nothing.
But you have legal custody.
He's my son. I adopted him
Right.
when he was 2 years. We had him from the time he was 8 months old till 2 years old. So she does nothing that wants to cause me trouble. So I don't tell people the truth about where we are and what we're doing because of those reasons. So I look like a suspect, but I am not a good person. I've raised all of my kids. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do in life, but everyone is causing me trouble right now. So
We don't want to cause a lot of trouble. How long have you been here?
we've only been here since September.
Okay.
We moved up here in September. My daughter to go to BYUI.
Your daughter goes to BYUI?
Yeah.
Does she live here?
So it's been a nightmare. But I'm going to go back to Arizona so I can put him back in the special needs school. He couldn't do the school here. It was too hard for him. He would scream and cry, take him to school. The principal would have to come out, try to drag him out of the car. Like, it's too hard. But I just don't tell people where I am. I don't tell her where I am ever.
Okay.
And she doesn't have any legal rights to anything. Like, she's been horrible to me since my husband died.
My understanding, she never called to try to get the child, hey, I'm interested in the child back, but that...
I know, but she sends me these emails with, like, the date and, like she's putting up court stuff, like, just documenting. I haven't heard from him in all this time, and so I've told her that he's fine, but...
See, and we hadn't heard any of that as far as...
I'm just saying she's doing this as part of that, is my understanding.
These officers know she's married to Chad. They know something is definitely going on. The officer continues by saying, our only concern in this whole thing is for the child. Lori says, I got it.
And our only concern in this whole thing is the child.
I got it.
And so that's where we're at on the... and then we were just a little weirded out when... and I understand now that we've heard your side of the story.
It's awful. I feel like I'm being tracked all the time. I'm like, why are police coming to my door?
Officer explains he has a better understanding since he heard Lori's side of the story. This is the moment when the officer is getting ready to nonchalantly get more information from Lori. Lori continues, it's awful. I feel like I'm being tracked all the time. Like, why are the police coming to my door? Like, what did I do? The officer demonstrates his skills. They said you were visiting with 2 guys, and I'm assuming one was your brother? Lori says, yeah. The officer continues again, who's the other one? The other guy visiting. There were 2. Lori says, who's visiting? We had 2 detectives over here, he says, looking for you a little while ago. Lori explains, because I was at the store. It was my brother and his friend probably. The officer says, who's that? Lori answered, Chad. Chad from around here? He says. Lori stumbles over her words.
They said they were out visiting with 2 guys, and I'm assuming one's your brother?
Who was visiting? Yeah.
Who was the other one? The other guy they were visiting with? There were 2.
Visiting.
Well, we had 2 detectives over here trying to...
Looking for you a little while ago.
Oh, because I was at the store.
And they ran into... probably one of your brothers in
My
the back
brother
here.
and his friend, probably.
Oh,
They've
who's
been
that?
moving. Chad?
Chad from around here? What's his last name? Daybell. Okay. All right.
It's just a mess. It's just constantly causing me trouble.
Chad Daybell. Chad Daybell. D-A-Y-B-E-L-L?
Lori replies, Daybell, it's just a mess, constantly causing me trouble. The officer interrupts. Chad Daybell? Lori says, he's an author. The officer goes in for shock value by asking, doesn't he live out, isn't that the Chad Daybell? Didn't his wife pass away recently?
He's an author.
Doesn't he live like out in the, isn't that the Chad Daybell that, did his wife pass away recently? Is that him?
I don't know.
I bet it is.
Was that him? I think I know him. And then he says, he's got a couple of daughters? Lori answered, he's got lots of kids.
Yeah, D-A-Y-B-E-L-L. Yeah.
But it sounds familiar as an author.
I think I know one of his. Has he got a couple of daughters? Is that
He has lots of kids.
okay. I'll bet it's safe.
The officers wrap things up and tell Lori they don't mean to be a problem. Lori is stressed out. She starts to really ramble. I'm sorry that people are constantly knocking on my door looking for me and I just don't want to be found. So then she starts rambling about her $2 million life insurance policy again.
All right. Well, need anything else? Sorry to bother you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We don't mean to be a problem.
I'm sorry
We just-
that people are constantly knocking on my door looking for me, and I just don't want to be found. So,
Have you had problems? Because I think we've only had.
the reason I'm moving is because the brother that was going to kill me, that we found emails and texts with my husband at the time, came showing up here. So he found out where I was, and he was knocking on my door.
No.
That's what I'm saying. It's just a nightmare. I canceled the life insurance policy since my husband passed, so there's no money that they can... Lori goes off on a tangent and says, what am I going to do with JJ and Tylee? Like, what do you believe?
What are they going to do with JJ and Tylee? Like, what do people think?
Okay.
So,
Well, if you have a problem, shows back up, feel free to call us. We'll come and run him off or something. Okay? All right.
appreciate it.
Okay, we'll get out of here. Sorry to bother you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Well, Lori, we know JJ. Well, Lori. We know JJ and Tylee's remains were found buried on Chad's property 7 months after this welfare check. You, Lori, are definitely not the one to believe. Do you think Lori believed she was moments away from being arrested? The officers return again after trying to contact Melanie Gibb. I wonder what's going on inside of Lori's mind from the moment the law enforcement left until their return. The lies continue with Lori saying Melanie had taken JJ out to the movie theater to see Frozen 2. Obviously, Lori knew she made some mistakes and said too much. The very next day, the officers come back with a search warrant. Upon arrival, they found out that Chad, Lori, they were gone. I know, abrupt ending, but please stay tuned for part 2. This will be worth it. Thank you for watching Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn. Part 2 coming very soon on Then and Now. Please like, please subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. Stay well, stay safe.